Alright, camera's away.
Hi everyone, my name is Jack and I will be doing my FMP presentation for today. So thank you all for being here. So, as I said, my name is Jack. So I've chosen to make a short film. I think it's sort of the best way to develop my skills in my film. So for the past 7 units we've done like music video, and the one that I like the most is film. So I think it's sort of the easiest way to explore new things and new topics. So that's why I'm excited to do that. And my genre, as you can see, is psychological thriller. So I've taken inspiration from Severance and Black Mirror. So I'm quite excited to create something sort of unique. So one of my main ideas is to do a dream sequence. I'm quite interested in exploring things by David Lynch and Twin Peaks. There's this concept called the Red Room, which is it's from the 90s in Twin Peaks, and it's this place sort of between reality that doesn't really exist, but it does in the film world. And it will be explored in first person, so I'm hoping to sort of have a camera either at chest height or eye height to make it really interactive. As a film, I think it would be quite interesting to have something different. And I'm hoping to use mirrors and reflections as they're often used to depict other worlds, as well as sort of hell, although that isn't what I'll be exploring, but that kind of concept. And I think doppelgangers and alter egos are quite interesting. So if anyone's ever seen Moon Knight or Fight Club, it's that sort of concept of having something that isn't quite right, sort of another side of your character. And in terms of actors, I'm hoping to have 2 people. It might be one of you, so if you're unlucky enough to be picked. But there will only be 1 character, but 2 actors play it. So one of them will be in the dream sequence, and then one of them will be in the real world. And it won't be revealed until the end that they're the same character, so it'll be like a plot twist at the end. So in terms of target audience, it's going to be quite broad. I understand that making a film for everyone means that it's a film for nobody, but I'm hoping that people will enjoy it still. It'll be quite, it'll fit the conventions of the psychological thriller. But if you're a fan of The Truman Show, Black Mirror, Severance and Fight Club, I think you will enjoy my film, because it's inspired by and around the same lines. And an interesting fact I found out is that 96% of psychological thriller authors are female, but in terms of the people that enjoy the genre, it's kind of 50-50 split. So I'm one of the 4% making a psychological thriller, so I think that's quite interesting. And in terms of age rating, there's going to be nothing that would be 13 plus, so it's probably going to be a PG in terms of age rating. There's nothing particularly dangerous or interesting in that regard. And for story details, I'm hoping to start with the character getting out of bed in first person, because it'll be quite interactive, and I think it will be quite a surprise at the beginning to go straight into first person. I have an example on the next slide of what this could look like. You ignore that there's no sound. But yeah, I think something like this would make it really interesting at the beginning. So that is what I'm hoping to do for the beginning. So the story will just follow a basic chronological narrative. The character will wake up, go about his day, still in first person. And then eventually the character will wake up, as you saw in the video, and he'll realise that his day is playing out in the exact same way as his dream, but it will be sort of subtle things, like the weather being the same and the lighting being the same. And eventually the character realises that it's the same, and I still need to figure out sort of the middle section. I'm still working on it, which is one of my challenges I'll talk about later. But at the end, I want the first person perspective for the character to look in the mirror, and then the reflection looking back at him is the character from the dream sequence that was played by a different actor. So it'll be the plot twist at the end that they were the same person all along. And this is an example of what it will look like.
As you can see,
And it's not playing. Not working. Technical problems. Basically that was a video of the character looking in the mirror without the camera being in the frame. I think they achieved it with After Effects, so that is something that I have to learn how to do. So I'm quite excited for that challenge. And as I said, my inspiration is Black Mirror and Severance. So if you've ever seen Severance, there's the scene in the elevator where the character switches between his work personality and his real life personality. And it's just another sort of sci-fi, psychological thriller element. And it's the same with Black Mirror. If you've seen any of the episodes, they're all quite sort of thrillery and futuristic. And one of my topics is surrealism. So it feels like it could happen, but it hasn't happened in the real world yet. So it's sort of like exploring the future, kind of. And I also mentioned Moon Knight and Black Swan. They explore the idea of alter egos and multiple personality disorders. So again, with the dream sequences with the different actor, it could be a sign of schizophrenia or other conditions, but that isn't my main focus of the film. And my research so far has also shown that Shutter Island and Fight Club are in the same genre. Unfortunately, I'm a film student who has never seen either of those films, but I'm hoping to watch them as part of my research, and then I can incorporate some of the ideas into my final film. And in terms of technical details, I'm hoping to use a Canon or a Blackmagic camera that I will borrow from college. And I'm hoping for it to be 4 to 7 minutes, but no longer than 10, because I think with my limited experience and time limit, I might not be able to create a film longer than 10 minutes. And it will be edited in DaVinci Resolve, to the dismay of our tutor Alex. And it will be uploaded to YouTube in the end for anybody to watch. And there's some photos there of the equipment that I might be using. So I will probably be using a boom pole with a shotgun mic and either a shoulder rig or a tripod with a Canon camera. And in terms of lighting, I'm hoping to use soft, maybe backlit lighting to create the sort of dreamy, hazy effect in the dream sequences. It sort of fits the conventions of dream sequences. And I also want to do practical tests with experimenting with low shutter speed to sort of create the sort of hazy, sort of juttery, dreamy effect. But I don't want to go too far that it looks like a drunk effect when in first person. So I need to do practical tests to try and figure out the best shutter speed for that. And in terms of lens, I'm hoping to use a 24 to 105mm lens to sort of give the most amount of range for framing. So I could do mid shots, close shots, and far shots to sort of vary up the film. And there's a photo of the camera that I will probably be using. But as I've mentioned, practical tests. A few weeks ago I did colour temperature tests with coloured paper sheets and trying to figure out what different colour temperatures and why it's important to match the camera and the lighting. There's a video here which will also play. So as you can see, when you match the camera, the colours look right. But as you sort of change all of the settings, the colours look different. So I need to experiment with colour temperatures and lighting to fit the dream aesthetic, hopefully. But again, that's practical tests that I still need to conduct. As well as colour grading practice. So I don't have much experience with colour grading, but I'm hoping to practice it and get better at it. So there's a little time lapse of me editing a photo from the other day. So I'm hoping to show that I know colour grading enough to do this film. I won't show the whole video because it's quite long, even though it's sped up. But just so you can see the different sort of softwares that I use and the different options that are available. And we also did the gimbals and steadicams practical test. So again, for dream sequences, I'll probably be shooting handheld to make it sort of, I'll be shooting handheld to make it seem more realistic, especially for the first person, because if you are in first person with a gimbal, it might not look realistic, too cinematic. So again, it's just practical tests I need to conduct. In his
do you know whether we'll put that in this, Lewis? I hope so. I do.
Here's an example of a gimbal.
Flow with it, nicely. Go. Flow What's your boss, John? Easy then. Thank you.
So as you can see, even with a gimbal, it was quite cinematic. So for a dream sequence, I probably wouldn't want that steadiness. In terms of practitioner research, I have researched the Spielberg face, which is basically a Hitchcock zoom and a dolly zoom combined. So if you've ever seen Jaws, there's that really famous scene where the camera gets closer and the background gets further away. So on the next slide, I've got an example of that here. So through my practitioner research, I've discovered that there are certain techniques like that I might want to incorporate, but I could also vary them. Like for example, the Hitchcock zoom is a dolly zoom, but slightly different. So I could take existing effects and sort of make them my own. There's also this theory called recollection objects, which is by Laura Marks. You might not have heard of the theory before, but in films it's basically like a photograph. It symbolises that all the characters have a past and a background. So it is a way to sort of connect with the audience and to make it relatable. But it also develops the film universe to make it seem like more believable and that there are backgrounds in the characters. An example is the necklace from Titanic, if you've ever seen it. Right at the end, she puts the necklace on to get closure for Jack. It's just a way to make the story seem continuous rather than disjointed. And there's also this effect called a MacGuffin, which is a plot device. It is something that is important to the characters in the film, but it isn't as important to the people that are watching. So a good example of that is the briefcase from Pulp Fiction. We never actually see what's in the briefcase, but it's a really important plot point throughout the film. So as I've mentioned, first-person perspective, I have never personally explored this before. So in terms of trying to do it, I'm hoping to either use a GoPro with a chest mount or a mobile phone, and then that will create the effect that I'm hoping for. But again, it's just practical tests and trying to figure out how to do it the best I can. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I don't have my story fully put together yet, so creating a good and engaging narrative is something that I am struggling with a little bit. But I'm hoping to develop my skills with how to create a good story that is engaging to watch, because nobody wants to watch a boring story. And as I've mentioned quite a few existing media like Black Mirror and Severance, I don't want to create something that seems like it's copying something that already exists. I would like to make something original. And I think with the ending and the beginning that I mentioned, I have a sort of unique storyline already. I've mentioned surrealism and the Twin Peaks Red Room, which is a photo of. And there's this comedy called Peep Show, if anyone's ever watched it. It is entirely shot in first-person perspective, so it is very interactive and you feel like you're the main character in the 3 seasons. So that is what I've taken inspiration from as my first-person dream sequences. And that is everything I have to show for my proposal at the moment. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask.
What other camera techniques are you going to use other than the POV shots?
So I am hoping to use a tripod with static shots, and there was the Spielberg one I mentioned, so I might do a couple scenes that are fully one take, just to make it seem a bit more coherent and fluent, but quite the opposite in dream sequences. Dreams are quite often fragmented, so I might have lots of jump cuts to make it seem really sort of disjointed.
Instead of the strapped phone, have you thought about using meta glasses?
I could. The only problem is budget for this film is I'm trying to keep it as low as possible, but if I could borrow some from anybody, then that would be a really good idea, and that would also solve the mirror first person perspective, because they just look like regular sunglasses.
I know you said that the narrative was undeveloped at this point, but do you have an idea of when the dream sequence will become relevant to the story? Is it more episodic, or is it does it take up a big portion of the film?
So I think the dream sequence is going to be about half of the film, and then the other half will be in the real world with the ending that I mentioned with the 2 actors in the mirror. I need to figure out details in the middle, but my original idea was that when he figures out that it's playing out the same way, he tries to change the outcome, and the moral of the story could be that you can't change the past, something like that.
So location-wise, the first was like house and then workplaces. On the dreams, like a different contrast, like the opposite of that, or
So I think in terms of location,
yeah.
the dream sequences will probably either take place in my house personally, or the house of the actors. That just means that I don't have to book a hotel or anything like that, budget-wise. But for the rest of the film, I'm hoping to have the characters walking outside. So it could just be outside in public, and then I don't have the problem of signing release forms and location forms and that sort of thing. So I'm trying to keep the admin sort of as low as possible.
Are you gonna add music?
It's something I haven't really thought about yet. But I think during the dream sequence there could be sort of some like soft and gentle music. But then in the real world sequences I won't have music because that's not realistic. So I'll probably have dialogue and just the real world atmos in the real world sequences.
So overall, you obviously need to write this idea. What sort of themes do you want to explore with this story?
So in terms of themes that I'm exploring, I'm trying to explore sort of surrealism and alter egos, as well as sort of the really small blur between reality and dreams. So as I mentioned, the dream sequence is going to be realistic and reflect real life. So I'm hoping to explore surrealism rather than sort of crazy sci-fi, but I still want it to fit the psychological thriller theme, which is where I mentioned the outcomes changing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it feels quite important that we get a handle on
Yeah.
the story side. You've got all the bits that you want to play with.
Yeah. I've got the beginning and the end, it's just the middle stuff. As I said, I struggle quite a lot with being creative and creating a story. I can do all the technical side of it. Coming from an academic background, that's what I'm better at. So it's just trying to figure out the creative bit in the middle.
They say there's only ever 7 stories in the world, so not too much.
Yeah, there's lots of things to take inspiration from.
Yeah. As far as original ideas goes, the library's full of them, so it'll be alright, can't be too hard. Any other questions? Right, so the 5 questions that the other guys asked were...
I have a survey to send.
You're going to send that out?
Yes.
Awesome. Alright, let's do that then. Well done, Jax. Taking very neatly to break time. So back here in 15 minutes, folks. Go and break. Well done.
I hated every second.
Okay.
What, was I like really awkward?
No, you
Well, Alex called me Jax for a start. That's
Just there.
literally, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good job, Jack. If you want to borrow a little chest mount, the only thing is, it only fits the phone line.
I've got quite a good phone camera.
15 minutes, folks.
I think.
Yeah.